Welcome to the Victory Speaks Inspired Conversation series, where iron sharpens iron. That's you and me sharpening each other. I am your host, Nicole Waldron, your voice of victory and your mental fitness coach. And I'm on a mission to create inspiring life conversations with everyday experts, unsung heroes, and thought leaders that will empower us to live a victorious lifestyle. As you join me on this journey through these inspired conversations, I hope you will be inspired to have intentional conversations that will lift you up and enhance your life. No matter the type of conversations we have, good, bad, funny, you name it, it can all be inspiring. Tonight, I invite you to get comfy, get a nice drink or a snack, grab a notepad, as you just never know when a wisdom key can be dropped. Please share this with your friends and get ready to engage with us. And welcome, everybody. It is good morning, good night, good evening, good morning, depending on when you're watching the show. It is Nicole here, your voice of victory and your mental fitness coach. And in Toronto, when we're taping this show, it is a beautiful spring day out there. It's a little chilly out there today. First Monday of spring, first Monday of April. And I'm so happy that you're joining me. I have a special guest. I've been trying to get him on here for the show's been on almost 2 years, but you know what? Schedules, and he is a famous guy. He's doing lots of great stuff in the world. My victory guest tonight is Kelvin Nyeusi. Oh, I almost messed up his name. Nyeusi, an illustrator and an owner of the publishing company named Black Sun Comics, creators of the Afrofuturistic comics and graphic novels. Now listen here. He was doing this before Black Panther, okay? Just know. This guy's been in the game for a long time. He's born and raised in Toronto and uses his skills. He's as acquired as a photographer, front-end web developer, college instructor to digitally illustrate his books and teaches others how to do the same via his YouTube channel. And so I am excited to have him here tonight. I think I need him to make a character of me. And what do you think? What do you think? What do you think, people? Anyways, let's bring Kelvin up here. Let's not delay because the conversation is going to be good. Okay, Kelvin, welcome to the Victory Speak Show tonight.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here. That intro that you had has got my adrenaline going. I feel like I can do anything right now.
My God. Listen, when it's a creative like you, and I'm like, oh my God, Kelvin's going to see this. I made that on my own, but I need big creators like you to help me make a really better splash with a whole kind of like caricature and stuff, like how you draw and stuff like that. That's what I meant. You know, the victory girl or victory queen or whatever she's going to be. We got to create a character. So how's your day been going?
It's been well. Busy, but well. Busy is good.
Good. So who is Kelvin? You know, I know about you doing photography, illustration, but who is the man? Who is Kelvin, the guy?
Kelvin is a lot of things. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I own a publishing company called Black Sun Comics. I create Afrofuturistic comics and graphic novels. I'm a sci-fi nerd, fantasy nerd.
I can't see you as a nerd, but that's okay.
Yeah, actually, you'd be surprised. Like it's there underneath.
Right.
Because you see, I grew up in the 80s. Like I came of age in the 80s, and
Right.
During that time, nerddom wasn't so cool. So it was something that you hid because if you were a nerd, you were the kid who got beat up.
Right.
And I said I wasn't about any of that. So I would do all those things, but no one would just know about it. So yeah, I've been a science fiction and fantasy fan for as long as I can remember. In conjunction with doing a whole bunch of other things too. So yeah, it's a lot of things.
So what got you into science fiction? Like, how did you get this love of science fiction?
Actually, it was my mother who did it, but she didn't understand what she was creating at the time. So we used to live. I was born in Toronto, but then we moved to Thornhill, and there was a library that she would always take me to. I think I was like around four or 5 years of age, because she was really into reading, and being the son of a voracious reader, I had no choice. So, but I liked it anyway. But anyways, at the time, when libraries are getting rid of all their old books, they would sell them off for like 10, 20 cents, that type of thing. So the library was having a sale, and she just bought up a whole bunch of books.
Wow.
And one of the books was a book about the possibility of going to the moon. And this book was written before actually people had gone to the moon. So for whatever reason, just the illustrations in this book kind of caught my eye, and I was fascinated because it's talking about how we would get there, like, you know, the rocket ships and
Yeah.
building colonies on the moon and people living there and maybe growing stuff there. It was just really fascinating to me as a 4-year-old, and that started the journey. I was hooked. I was into space and space travel and, you know, other planets and science and technology and all that kind of stuff from a very young age. The funny thing is, my parents are not into science fiction at all. So I'm the
They're
I
like,
was the
what
oddball.
happened?
Sorry, say again.
They're probably like, what happened? Where did you come from?
But yeah, because she would always make fun of me, like, you know, teasing me, saying, "Why are you watching all that foolish stuff on TV?" Because, you know, any kind of sci-fi horror thing,
Yeah.
I just gravitated to, and they couldn't understand. But, you know,
It's
it is
amazing how
what
you
it is.
took that love from a child and now you've made it into your passion and your work.
Yeah, because that's actually a great point, because even though I was a fan of science fiction and was always consumed it, whether it was in books or TV or movies or whatever, I was never happy with the depiction of people of African descent, Black folks,
Mm,
in those stories. A lot of the times we were just non-existent, or if we were depicted, it was kind of like tokenism. Like, you know, the Black
right.
guy is just kind of there and is inconsequential to the story. So even from a young age, I recognized that, and I always had in the back of my head, you know, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not sure how, but one day I'm going to do my own thing and put it out there. And that's kind of what spawned the idea for me to do Black Sun Comics. Yeah.
So do you like, I am so fast. Your kids must love you because, you know, to have you may be a nerd to others, but you are like the number one dad because like you're into all the cool stuff and you can draw and you can make them characters. Like, have they learned to do illustration with you so far?
Yeah, I do. My older son and we make comics, right? So he comes up with characters, and I help him draw and, you know, ink it and color it and do all that kind of stuff. It's funny because when I was around 10 years old, 9 or 10, Transformers was a really big thing. It had just
Robots
come out.
in disguise. Come
There
on,
you go.
come on. I'm aging myself.
It's all about the robots in disguise.
Yeah, come
So
on.
as a big Transformers fan, and, you know, now years later, my son is into Transformers too, but they have a whole new generation of Transformers. So we go back and forth about which generation was better and that kind of thing. So that stuff is kind of fun too.
That's so cool. Do you do workshop for kids?
Yeah, actually, just on Saturday that just passed, I was doing a comic making workshop for grade 5 and 6 students through Durham Black Educators.
Right.
So they had contacted me about, you know, we're doing the Saturday program, and could you come and teach kids how to make comics? I'm like, sure, I would love to do that. So it's great to see, you know, it's great to be able to pass that knowledge on to other people so that they can be inspired and do their own thing as well. Because there's a lot of power in being able to tell your own story. And the good thing about comics is that you don't need a huge budget to do it.
Right.
Um, you don't even need to really be able to draw that well. If you're good at storytelling and you have those ideas, you can put it on paper and share it with someone, and, you know, entertain that person or educate them. So it's actually one of my favorite forms of storytelling. Next to movies, I'd say movies is first, but a close second is comics. Yeah.
Well, you know, you're reminding me of, I always wanted to be Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And you see the big hair? When I was younger, I always had the big hair. So I would dress up and I got the Wonder Woman thing. And I was like, so now that I don't dress, you know, I don't draw well, now you're giving me an idea because I always wanted to be an illustrator of some sorts.
Yep.
And you're getting some love online because like Uncle Kelvin, your niece and nephew are waiting for their lesson. That's from Leslie Harrison.
Hey, Leslie. Shout out.
Blessings, Wendy. Welcome to the show. And I'm like, Wendy works with a lot of kids. So Wendy, this is a great connection for you with Kelvin, because I could really see some workshops. And are you able to do workshops like virtually, or do you have to be like hands on, like right there with young people?
I've never tried virtually. I'm sure it could be done. I could figure something out.
Right,
I prefer in person because then people can kind of see what I do and then mimic that.
right.
So
Ah,
face to face is always better, but if I had to do it virtually, I could figure something out. Yeah.
well, Leslie, if you're listening there, I feel a workshop coming on where like parents with their children and doing the illustration together. That would be like so cool, like a mom son, or a mom daughter and father son,
Yeah,
whatever. That mixed
absolutely.
combination and doing okay. We're gonna. You see, I always give myself work when I come to my own show, but I think that's a really like cool idea. And you were mentioning about how black characters would just kind of just disappear off, early on. Like why, you notice that was happening. Like why was that happening early on in comics and stuff? Is it even still happening now, or has the game shifted?
It still happens now. To be honest, I don't have my ear to the comics world that much, which sounds funny seeing as I make them. I was mostly reading comics in the late '80s and early '90s,
Right.
and there were sprinklings of black characters. Like I was really into X-Men comics. So in X-Men, I think the two black characters, two out of a bunch of X-Men, was Storm and Bishop. And Storm is a cool character, but Storm doesn't look like your typical black woman,
Yeah.
right? Storm
Yeah.
has long white hair and blue eyes. And black women only look like that if they put a bunch of chemicals in their hair and put
Come
on
on now.
contacts. And so I was like,
Yeah.
she's not really black, right? The black women that I know in my life don't look like that.
Come on now.
So that always, it didn't sit right with me, even
Yeah.
though I love the character. So these were all things that I was noticing as I was growing up and reading these materials. And I was like, this is why I need to do an alternative to mainstream because I know I was black and I enjoyed science fiction and fantasy, and I knew there are other people that would enjoy it too. And even though Black Sun Comics is geared towards a black audience, what I find is even when I do mainstream events, people who are non-black really enjoy it as well.
Right.
And part of the reason for that is because it's something that's never been seen before. Like we see science fiction from a white perspective, which is fine. I've also seen science fiction from a Japanese perspective, so
Mhm.
the Japanese anime and manga and all that kind of stuff. I've even seen Korean stuff, but rarely do you ever see science fiction from a black perspective,
Very true.
right? So this is something that stands out. People are kind of really taken aback. They're like, "Oh, cool! What is this? Tell me more." And then they get into the story and all that kind of stuff. So we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, a really great response, an excellent response actually.
I might want to come work for this Black Song Comics. I feel a marketing thing happening in my soul here. Look at Miss Wendy Jones. Teacher Wendy Jones is like, I look like Storm. You kind of look like Storm because she's got the blonde hair. Do you have those eyes, Storm? Miss Wendy Jones. Actually, you would really do good. We should really make a whole caricature of you and your kids that you teach, and then she also teaches Pan. So
Okay, cool,
she's
cool.
all there doing, always educating, and she's funny too. And so when I think of science fiction, it's so interesting. Um, I always think when you see science fiction on the TV, it always feels for adults. But you said you do stuff for kids. Like, what is the age group for Black Sam comics?
I say ages 9 plus
Right.
because there's no sexuality, there's no coarse language, but there is some violence. So there's characters
Okay.
that fight because the overall story is it takes place in an alternate universe on a planet that's peaceful until one day these zombie-like creatures literally appear out of thin air and start destroying everything in their path. Right, no matter who or what is in their way, they're killing it. So the story follows a group of heroes who has to figure out why these things are doing what they're doing, where they come from, how they're doing it, but no one knows how to stop them. So
Right.
these heroes have to kind of figure out what's going on and learn to work together and hopefully save the day. So the Black Sun: The Longest Night follows these characters who are on that journey of trying to save their homeworld from this existential threat.
So listen here. You got Wendy. and you got me. Two new characters for the and I see
Wendy,
myself as
Wendy,
Victory.
what's your superpower, Wendy? I need to know what your superpower is. I'm putting
Wendy,
you on the
what's your
spot.
superpower? My superpower is truth. So
Okay.
I'm gonna come in as truth and light. And I'm gonna just come in like, Storm Victory or Queen Victory, coming in with truth and light to dispel the darkness and we take out all the lies, and destroy the monsters. You see, I'm just gonna build this. I'm gonna work on this storyline. I'm gonna get a couple friends and we're gonna work. We want
Yeah.
to be. We want this. The next version will be like a whole group of women coming in. Oh, look at Sarah. Sarah is in it now. Nyeusi, Black in Swahili, love it. Sarah's from Ottawa. Sarah, you gotta bring Kelvin onto your radio show. Sarah is in Ottawa and she's a champion of all champions. She's champion of everything Afrocentric. And this is Afrofuturistic comics. Hopefully I said that right, Kelvin.
Yeah, yeah, Afrofuturism. Sarah, you have a keen. What was I going to say? The word is slipping my mind. You're able to figure that out. Kudos
Oh
to you.
yes. Oh yeah. Sarah Oyango is she is the bomb. She's my encyclopedia, walking encyclopedia. I learned so much from her. And
Cool.
so I'm loving the storyline. How many books so far in this series of the Black Sun comics?
So right now it's 5. I'm working now with my co-author Tug Stars, who he goes by. So we're just in the midst of refining the script. It's been a while, because I'm kind of a perfectionist. So
Kinda,
it's
Kelvin,
just a
kinda.
little bit.
Yeah.
Because I won't put anything out if I'm not happy with it. I have to be 100% happy with it in order for me to be confident enough to put it in front of people and say this is my work. So a lot of the times I will do something and I'll take a break from it and look at it again and just absolutely hate it and say, okay, this is not good enough. I can do better. And it's good and it's bad. It's a double-edged sword because it means it takes a while for things to come out. But when it does come out, it's good and people enjoy it. So that's a struggle that I'm working with. I have to learn to be a bit less of a perfectionist.
So you have to
Just a
learn how
bit
to
less.
be perfectly imperfect. I'm learning how to be perfect. And my friend said you need to learn how to be perfectly imperfect. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
working on number 6, but I'm telling
Yes.
you got some women on here, and we're going to be in book number 7, the seven storms, right? We're going to help you script this thing out. You got writers on here. Wendy's a writer, Sarah's a writer, Leslie's a writer, and you got me. So we're going to get 3 more women, and it's the 7 storms. We're coming in, Calvin. We want to be in this. We want to be in this Black Sun comic series. Like, speaking of Black Sun Comics, how did you even come up with the name Black Sun Comics?
The name I came up with on a whim, to be honest. It sounded cool. It has to do with the story in the sense that when these alien creatures appear, they're in this huge mothership that billows thick black smoke, and the smoke literally covers up the sun and brings it's like a nuclear winter basically. So the sun is blotted out by this black smoke. So it just kind of fit Black Sun and the longest night because now there's no day because there's no sun on this world anymore, because of this alien attack. So that's kind of where it comes from. I just thought of Black Sun and that sounds cool. It's kind of like an oxymoron. How can you have a black sun? But it fit the story. So that's kind of where it came from.
I'm saying that people need to go look. You need to go look at the images on Black Sun Comics because they're really cool. And Sarah is saying she's got you. You know why she's got you, and she knows she's insightful because she's Kenyan.
Hey, shout out Kenya.
Wendy says her superpower is doing good everywhere and helping others. Okay.
Okay, that's a good start, but I'm going to challenge you, Wendy. How do you do the good specifically? And you don't need to answer me now, but you think about it and then come back with an answer. So doing good is great, but how do you do good? What makes you different from everyone else?
So I'm going to ask everybody who's still on the line watching live, and even if you're watching it on the replay, you can still drop the comments. What is your superpower? and how does that play out? Because we want to know, because, and especially for the women, I'm pitching for us 7 women to get into the seven book. Okay, just pitching here, just throwing my pitch here. And so now you guys were around before Black Panther.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like, how did that impact what you're doing now? This Afrofuturism that I can't even say. I feel like I get tongue tied with my Trini self when I try to say it.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. Afrofuturism. So we were out before the Black Panther movie. So for those who don't know, there's Black Panther, the Marvel character, who started off in comic books, and that character came out in the '60s. And those comic books were going from since then. Black Sun, what we do, I started that in 2015 and brought out the first book in 2016. And then I think it was 2018 when the Black Panther movie was released. And it was cool. It was great because it kind of validated the idea that people wanted to see, science fiction from a Black perspective, right?
Right.
So the difference with the Black Panther movie is that it focused on an African country, a fictional one, whatever. That's cool. It's science fiction, but it showed a view of what Africa would be like if it was never colonized,
Right.
right? And so you have Black folks who have all this great technology and able to do amazing things. So people like that movie. Obviously, I think it grossed $1 billion, like some ridiculous number. Like it made a lot of money. So people started looking for more content, and luckily we were out at the time, so people would see what we're doing and go, oh, okay, it's kind of like Black Panther. It really isn't, but that's the only frame of reference that a lot of folks have.
Yeah.
So people compare us to Black Panther all the time, which is fine. I'm okay with that comparison because I like the Black Panther movie too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only similarities between that property and ours is the word Black, and the fact that it's the same kind of genre, Afrofuturism. But other than that, the stories are very different. Yeah.
But it's nice that people can identify, and now they're starting to get in with it. And you guys, because you knew what you were doing before, this is going to be hopefully you can ride on some of the waves of it. I love see Sarah's in the conversation. Perfectionism means you care about your craft. Okay, Sarah.
This is true. This is true.
So Sarah's team Kelvin. So Ronald actually he's in Gatineau, and he says, how is publishing in Canada? And Ronald actually produced, he and his wife Kelvin produced a comic book for their sons. 2 of their sons have sickle cell. And the Battle of Autobots. The Battle of Autobots.
Yeah, I think I've seen your stuff.
Yeah, so you guys gotta connect. The Battle of Autobots. So how is publishing in Canada is his question.
It's difficult. It's difficult. Our stuff is self-published. So I didn't go looking for a publisher specifically because I don't like being told no. I don't want anyone telling me, no, you can't do this story.
Right.
If I have an idea in my head and I know it's a good idea, I'm doing it. I don't care what anyone says. So I put my own money into it and started self-publishing. And it's tough because you have to do everything yourself. Like in addition to writing the book and doing the artwork and social media and all that kind of stuff and promoting, you have to wear a lot of hats. I still wouldn't have it any other way, though. I prefer it this way because then I'm in control of everything, and then I can bring people on to help out with the areas that I may not be so good at. So it's tough, but it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding when we can go to a show and our books nearly sell out. That's really a rewarding experience. So it's hard, but it's worth it.
And you guys were at Comic-Con the other day then?
We just did Toronto Comic-Con. Yep, that was actually our first show since the pandemic shut everything down. So it was funny because we were going to do Toronto Comic-Con in 2019.
Yeah.
I think 2019, and then everything shut down. So COVID took a big bite out of business too, because the majority of what we do is selling in person at shows. And so COVID put a halt to that. So we kind of had to pivot and learn how to do online marketing and sell that way. So it was a big learning curve. It's still a learning curve.
Well, you would wonder how I knew about Comic Con, because one of my good friends, her son, he's into comics, and every year he's like at Comic Con. So like I would know when Comic Con was happening, because
Yep.
he's just so into it. Okay, so the girls are back, the women are back, and they're ready to be in this book. Wendy's power is my sticks, and Sarah's my superpower is imitating accents. Oh my god. This is a little fun here. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm telling you, Kelvin, we want a book.
Okay.
We
We can work something out. We can
yeah,
work something.
we want, and listen, we will market, because we have the people, and I tell you, if we did a few workshops and then we did our comic, listen, by the what are we in now, 2022? Okay, we'll give you till 2023, so that we can at least have our books.
So are there a lot of writers like listen like
All
you
these people
mentioned?
here write. All these people here write. Sarah's in the media. She speaks, I don't even, Sarah, how many languages do you speak? She speaks multiple languages. And Wendy is a teacher. Ronald is in media. Well, you're not a woman, but Naomi, his wife, is just super.
Don't discount the dues.
Yeah,
Come
yeah. Well, you
on.
got 6 comics. You got 6 comics. We just want one. Who's doing one for
But
the
my comics have women in it too.
No. We want one all women. Just like
All
the,
women.
the women are saving the day. We're going to be the forefront of the comic. Like, come on now. And then we can pull in your wife, and I'm sure she'll be gung ho in that. And Leslie is a writer. Leslie's writing, so she's. And then we're gonna have some. You have the African drummer, so her superpower will be like the African drums. I'm just creating here in my head. I'm totally forgetting about the show. Totally, this is no longer about you. This is about the book. So, what else are you guys producing at Black Sun Comics? Because I know it's not just the comics you have.
Well, I do artwork, so we sell prints of our stuff. We have some merchandise like clothing. Actually, I think I have one of our hoodies
I need a
here.
hoodie. I need a hoodie. I need a
So we have
hoodie.
hoodies and t-shirts and that sort of thing. And then we're looking at putting out more books. So actually, the next project is probably going to be an anthology, an Afrofuturist anthology of short comic stories. And the
That'd be so
theme,
cool.
yeah, the theme would be what would life look like for Black Canadians in 2272. So that's
Ooh.
250 years from now. So I'm going to be soliciting for story pitches, short story pitches from authors to kind of imagine what that might be like. So, what could happen between now and 250 years? Would Canada still be an entity? If it is, would its borders change? Would there be new Canada, maybe something on Mars? How will Black people be involved in that? Um, you know, is this thing in Ukraine going to turn into a nuclear war that will ruin everything? And how are Black
Wow.
people going to survive that? Um, does global warming mean everything is under the water and now people have adapted to live underwater? So these kind of themes, I just want people's imagination to kind of extrapolate what might happen and see how Black people fit into that future, because it's important that we imagine ourselves in the future, because if you can do that, then you can work towards making those things a reality in the present, right? So
Excited.
I'm going to be putting out a call. Excuse me. I'm going to be putting out a call for soliciting story pitches for that, in the for putting together an anthology of short comic stories. Yeah.
But
So
let
if
me
you
know
have
if
that,
you're
that's why
ready.
I asked if there's writers in the rooms, because you know
Yeah. No, but no, but let me
keep
know
in
when
touch.
you're ready, because you know what? Maybe we can do like an Instagram live,
Mhm.
because I think that'd be a great place to put out a call and bring on your partner,
Yep.
and
Yep.
we can do a whole thing with Instagram live, and I think we probably should even do Clubhouse, and pull
Cool.
you into Clubhouse, and we do something like that. And because there's so many young brilliant minds,
Mhm.
that are out there, and that, and sometimes people want to write and they just never had an avenue. And
Sure.
like this year, I'll tell you, Kelvin, well, not this year, but last year. Oh my God, we're 4 months into this year, 2020. My God. And so I never thought I would have been in an anthology. And I was asked. And last
Oh,
year I was
cool.
in two anthologies.
Mhm.
And so, it's just that people just need to know what's happening, and then it's be amazing what we could pull out of individuals who are just sitting there waiting with the opportunity. And
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
and this can
Exactly.
be, you can get people from any part of the world when I think about it,
Yeah.
because it's just about writing. So we're putting it out there. Stay tuned for the call, because the call is going to come. So if you're interested in writing, if you know, it doesn't matter the age. That's the beauty of writing, young or old. If you have somebody, they are willing to start thinking 250 years into the future in 2072. My God, this is going to be good. This is
Yeah.
going to pull people's imagination. I don't
Yeah.
even need to ask you what's next. Like, how do you even sleep at night, Kelvin? Like, do you dream of color and stuff?
Um, my biggest problem is that I have a lot of ideas, and I'm not saying that to brag.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of bad because it's hard for me to decide which one to focus on because I don't have unlimited time and I don't have unlimited energy. So there's all these things that I want to do, and it's all just flying at me all the time. Um, and then I kind of have to reel myself back and say, okay, these 20 ideas that you had,
Right.
those are okay, but this one is better. Let's go with that. So that's my main thing. There's a lot of stuff racing inside this head of mine. I have to get it all out.
So what would you say to, now that you are here and hearing some of your story, and what, the library and going to school, and what your mom, and what would you say to young Kelvin now, when he was sitting there reading all these books, reading all these comics, and mom wondering, what the heck are you doing?
Um, you have to find the confidence to do what it is that you want to do. Um, part of one of the hurdles that I like, the personal hurdles that I had to get over was understanding that um, not everyone's going to like what you do,
Mm,
right? You're always going to have haters. No matter what idea you have, if you put it out there, someone's going to hate it. And I think I was listening to Dr. Boyce Watkins, and he said, if you want to please everyone, say nothing,
mhm,
do nothing, be nothing,
mm,
right? So if you're looking to please everyone, you're basically nothing. So that kind of sunk in, and like, you know what? That makes a lot of
that's
sense.
good.
Do what it is that you want to do, put it out there, and guaranteed if you're into it, if it's something that you're really passionate about, you're at least going to find 1,000 other people on the planet who will be just as passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. And let the haters be haters because they're going to be there all the time and they're always going to hate. And actually, Dr. Vibe said to me yesterday, he goes, they never build statues for critics, right?
Ooh, come on now, that's good.
And
That that's that's good.
I told him I'm using that because it's dope.
No, no, listen, I tell him he needs his vibisms. I call him his vibism. He always comes up with the best quotes, and he needs his own book. So maybe we can get him writing in your book. Who knows? You may have a story in there. So if you had, so say like 25 years from now. So you said 250. I'm going to take 10%. 25 years from now, and you could keep one thing. What would that one thing, out of your creative milieu of stuff, what would that be?
I don't even think I could answer that question. That's a difficult question for me to answer. Yeah, I don't even think I can answer it.
Okay, so let's switch.
I wouldn't be able to choose.
You'll be able
I'd
to
have to
choose.
take it all.
Okay, so let's switch it up a bit. So legacy. If you were to say the legacy that you want to leave, Kelvin wants to leave here in this earth, that you want to be, you look back, and your kids look back, and your grandkids look back. What is that legacy that you want to leave for them?
I want to show that I did my best to represent Black people, to represent Black excellence. So my books, show Black people functioning at their absolute best. It's not to say that they don't have any problems, but the characters are able to work together and intelligently figure things out and solve problems, which is what we need to be doing, because as Black people living in 2020, there's all kinds of problems that are thrust upon us. So we have to be intelligent enough and be able to work together in order to solve whatever issues we may have, whether they be personal or external. So I would want that to be my legacy. I know that even though I'm very creative, I know there's a child reading one of our books right now who's going to be inspired and who's going to put some of that stuff into reality in sometime in the future. And me knowing that I played even a small part in sparking someone's imagination to follow their dreams or to make their idea reality, I would want that to be my legacy. I'd want to be remembered that way.
And as you say that, so what is motivating you? What is your key motivator in this work that you're doing?
The stuff that I'm doing is stuff that I would have wanted to see when I was younger. Because even though I wasn't able to articulate it at the time, I wanted to see science fiction. Like, my question was like, how come there's no Black folks in this? Like there's none. Like, I watch all the Japanese stuff, I'd watch all the American stuff, I'd watch the European stuff, and there's none. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this can't be happening by accident over and over and over and over again. Black folks need to be able to imagine themselves in these fantastic worlds, even if they're fictional worlds. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. You need to be able to imagine yourself in a future so that you can make that future for yourself. So it's a self-esteem thing, really. So a child reading that now can see themselves represented excellently and I want to be like this character. Right?
I love that. I
like the way this character speaks. I like the way they look. I like what they stand for. I want to emulate this character. Right. So it's an example. Actually, it's something else that I remember being at school when I think I was 7, and Super Friends was on at the time. And so we go into the yard and play Super Friends at recess. And there was none of the Super Friends were Black. So I was at an all-white school at the time. And a lot of times what I'd hear is, well, no, Kelvin, you can't play because none of the Super Friends are Black.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that sucks. So, I have to do something about that. So even if what I do doesn't get as big as, Superman or Batman or anything, that's not really the point. The point is I was able to inspire someone to imagine themselves belonging and making an impact. And what you think and what you do is real, and it's valid. Yeah.
So guess what, Kelvin?
What?
So funny. So I went to some show, and this woman has a product called Kid Swag, and she created Super Friends.
I know Kid Swag. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just remembered I picked up 2. And so I have one on my fridge, and I bought one for my nieces and my nephews, because I found it so cool. Like, anything I see like this. So you see, of course, Wonder Woman is the center. That's me right there. This is me. See the hair, the blonde, the belt of truth. I am Wonder Woman. Best thing, Super Friends. But the fact is, I have it right here in the room, so it's one of my reminders. What would you say to parents because you said imagination, to help build and foster, because, sometimes, especially in the Black community, let's be real, when we talk about the arts and stuff, we don't always, now we're pushing it a little more, but, it's always the thing. You have to be a doctor, a lawyer, you have to be an engineer. They don't understand the arts, but the imagination, and then we have social media. What advice would you give to parents to foster the imagination of their young ones?
It's exposing them to a lot of experiences. So exposing them to life, right? Even like traveling, even if it means taking the TTC from one end to the other,
Right.
right? And just walking out and seeing stuff. The more you're exposed to in life,
Mm-hmm.
um, the more you can imagine and create. If you're walking around with blinders on and all you know is this, and all you expose yourself to is this, you're never going to grow as a human being,
Right.
right? So you have to take those blinders off and see all around you, and that means exposing you to stuff that sometimes might be scary, exposing stuff that might be cuddly and cute.
Yeah.
It's having that myriad of experiences that will help foster your imagination. And also, when parents see their kids drawing or doing something creative, it's not you shouldn't stifle that,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of times, people, I know in the Caribbean community, the Caribbean Black community, like the arts is like, don't waste your time with
It's,
that. You can't
it's
make any
taboo.
money doing that. And that's true to a certain extent, right? If you're really talented at something,
Yeah.
you should always have a marketable skill that will keep you paid, and you can always do your talent too, right? So
Yes.
it's fostering that talent, whatever your child happens to be
Mm-hmm.
into. If they have a passion for that, let them explore that to the best of your ability. Um, yeah, to the best of your ability that you're able to foster that. Like,
Yeah.
let them explore that and grow, and they will just make more of those neural connections, and they'll become smarter.
And it's good for their mental health. And you know what? I'm telling you, you're talking here, and I'm literally seeing the workshop. It's in my head there, doing this kind of stuff because, as you're right, because the neural pathways will grow, and it will really help to create some really healthy mindsets, and being able to write their stories and see themselves in it. Um, that is so perfect. Okay, Wendy is back. We want all women. I can't wait to see my hair flying in the wind, Sarah. They're ready for their book. I'm telling you, they're planning behind the scenes there, Kelvin. They're planning behind the scenes for you.
But actually, something else that I should mention too is art can literally save lives.
It
And
does.
uh, like when our book first appeared at the Black Speculative Arts Movement
Okay.
in 2016, and that was ran by a brother named Quentin Versetti, who helped put us on. And he was talking about the artwork that he does, and he says it kept him off the streets, right? It
Mm,
literally kept him off the streets. And I'm like, that's a beautiful thing, man, because it's true. If you can focus on something, artwork can be very therapeutic. It's great for the mental health, like whether you draw or paint or write poetry or do whatever photography, it doesn't matter what.
mhm.
Focusing on that can keep you out of a lot of trouble, right? If you have friends that are into foolishness, you go home and do your art and stay out of foolishness.
Yes.
So yeah, it definitely helps. So the creativity, we tend to minimize its importance, but it's very important.
And
I
I'm
think
glad you
it's
said that.
mandatory.
I'm glad you said that. Ronald is asking, are you thinking about anime?
Yes, yeah, yes. So the short answer is yes. Um, the process of getting that done is a much more complicated thing,
Mhm.
because we have to find an animation house that will do it for a price that's reasonable. We're all self-funded, right? So we're not sitting on millions and millions of dollars.
So we need
So
to get you some of that black funding that is out there. That
yeah, so
yeah.
if we do something like that, it'll probably be something that's crowdfunded. And if we have enough of an audience that's interested in seeing an animated version
Mhm.
of Black Sun Comics, definitely, definitely,
I think I have some people you need to talk to. I think I have some people you
sure.
need to talk to. Let's talk. And so fun question. If there, as we wind down, and I'm so glad for anybody joining live and on the replay, Black Sun Comics. If you have a young person, even if you are a mature person like us, I think you will still enjoy it. Go visit the website blacksuncomics.com. I mean, the pictures are great. And if you saw the flyer for today's show, that was I don't know who that is, but that's you. Like when I see that, I see you. And I like the one with the girl. So that's kind of like me. So that's my imagination. But the pictures are so rich and so vibrant. I really love it. So
Thank
if
you.
you could do Okay, two questions.
Mhm.
So say you got your anime and you got to produce your movie, you know, who would be some of the stars that you would want to appear, those voices that you would want to be your characters?
To be honest, I
Hmm.
probably wouldn't get anyone famous.
Ah.
I probably wouldn't, um, because I would want it to be a like a Black Canadian production
Hmm.
specifically.
But we
So
got famous people too.
yeah, yeah, but I don't I
You
see
would want to
I'm
grassroots.
not into the
I
celebrity thing so much.
I understand now. You want to be able to push the people. The people of the people will be doing the
Yeah,
acting and the voices.
because like one of the things that we value is because it's all self-funded. There's no barrier between me and the people
Hmm.
who buy our product, and that's the way that I like it. So it's really about finding the talent that no one really knows about, because no one's heard of us, right? We just came out of, well, the people know about us now, but when we first came out, no one knew about us. We were just, a guy making comics, right?
Right.
And eventually it grew and grew. And I think it's more special when you can find a really great talent that no one
Mhm.
has heard of, and you put them out in the forefront, and people are like, "Oh, who is this? This is amazing." So I would really like to get people that no one has ever heard of.
Or
And
up and
maybe that's bad business. I don't know, but that's where my mind is at right now.
or some up and coming Canadians that are doing some great work. Because I can think of some, some I can think of Ryan, and I can think of, I'm just thinking of a lot of actors and stuff that are now coming out and they're finally making their breaks that
Mhm.
really do some great work in this. You see, listen, I'm telling you, the women are into this. They're ready. Me in a big afro and big shades. Yes, Sarah, I can see it. I can see it, Sarah. And I know you're gonna have a sweet name for your character. So if you could go to dinner with one person, if you could pick a person that you can go to dinner with, who would that be?
Go to dinner with and chop it up.
Yes,
Um, that's a good question.
I hope
Um,
so.
probably. There's a brother on the internet named Jason Black,
Okay.
who does really good programming. So I think I'd want to chop it up with him. He knows a lot. He does documentary films, and actually his model is the kind of model that I follow. That more like a grassroots production, a self-funded thing, and just um, creating a community of people that enjoy the content and benefit from it. So I'd probably want to go to dinner with him and just, you know, pick up game. How do you do what you do? How do you market your stuff? How do you how do you produce it?
Hmm.
You know, um, how do you get smarter? So I probably want to get that kind of game from someone like that. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so have you met him yet? Do you know him?
No, I don't know him personally. I listen to his podcast.
Okay, so we're gonna have to find a way to make that happen because on the Victory Speak show, when I call out something, it's about calling it out. It's about making it happen. So you're gonna have a whole bunch of people that are gonna be rooting for you, and then you're gonna come back and tell us about the conversation that you had with him. When he says, "I love anime," no, it's gonna come to pass. Listen, we're calling things out here. The V in victory is the vision. Um, Yes, Divine, right? You need to watch the replay. And your son, she's in the US. Your son will love these comics. Um, so and Divine always
Shout out Divine.
tunes in. She
Thanks for tuning in.
always tunes in. Serena. So Kelvin, is there anything else you want to share with the people before we wind down tonight? And the stage is yours, but it's about Black Sun Comics, but it's about, the Afrocentric, futuristic world of Black comic literature. Lord, I'm tying my own self up.
Um, no, it was a great conversation. Thanks for having me on again. You can check us out at blacksuncomics.com. You can check us out on Instagram, YouTube. I do tutorial videos on YouTube that show you the behind the scenes process of how I do what it is that I do, in regards to the creation of the artwork. Twitter. What else is there? Facebook, a bit of Pinterest too. So yeah, come check us out. If you're interested in what we do, it's important that you support by buying the books. So once again, if you go to blacksuncomics.com, you can find our books there and you can purchase them. You know, if you like what we do and if you like what you've heard today, please support us because we're funded by the people, right? Like I said, we're not sitting on millions of dollars. In order for us to keep doing what we're doing, we need that support. So
Made by the people for the people. People, you heard it.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
okay, so unfortunately, you know what we missed in this show? I should
Oh,
have been wearing some Black Sun swag to do
oh,
the
I have to
show.
get you some.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come and buy me some Black Sun swag. And oh, Divine says, Serena says her son draws comics. See, this is
Hey,
why I'm thinking the virtual will be good because he's all the way over there and we're all the way over here. And Sarah's like, "Fun girl, wasn't it a fun conversation, Sarah? We had a blast because we're gonna be in a comic book, girl. And if Kelvin won't create our comic book, we're gonna find somebody who's gonna create the comic book for us. But we want to be
no,
rich
we'll
because
make it happen. We'll
Black
we'll, we'll
Sun
work a thing.
Comics
It's
is.
it's about figuring out how it'll fit into the story, and then fine tuning the characters, and because it's got to fit into the world of Black Sun. It can't just be anything, right?
Don't worry,
So
we'll help you. We'll
so
help. I'm telling you. Did you see
once we
Sarah's
figure
hello
all that out,
voices, eh? We'll get the outfits. We everything. We got the costume design, and we'll be the ones in the series that's going to be on the TV screen. You know, we'll be the super friends. See, all the women, we're all ready. We're ready here. My super friends are ready. Anyways, Calvin, it has been such a blast having you on tonight. Friends
thank you so
and
much.
family and new victory listeners live and on the replay. If you have any questions for Kelvin, still drop it in the comments on the chat. Send him a message on Twitter or on his Instagram. You know how to find him, Black Sun Comics. And we really appreciate you taking the time and tuning in to the show. Remember, Maya Angelou says, when you get, give, and when you learn, teach. And you know what Nicole says, love is in the details. I remind you, as I remind myself every day, seek to have an inspired conversation with someone you love or someone you meet today or you've met along the way. Your conversations can be inspired by your truth, your love, your story. Make sure they're meaningful. And it can even just start with a smile. And may you see the victory in your week. Now, Kelvin took us on a journey, and his victory journey, the V in victory. And he had a vision, and then he was intentional about it. And the beautiful thing about it, he took the C in victory and he cultivated it, and he's been cultivating it, and he's transforming the Black comic world, the Afro-futuristic comic world, with what he and his partner are doing. And along the way, you know what? He's giving the props to people. He's giving some ovation, and he's doing it in order. He's got some, he wants it to be perfect, but perfect because he wants excellence. And in the midst of it, there is the time when we are going to restore how we see ourselves as Black people, you know? And in order for him to do this, he had to yield to the process. And there's your victory in Black Sun Comics. So remember to follow the Victory Speak show on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Victory Speak 7. It has been a blast being here with all of you tonight. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Victory Speaks. And on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about declutter. You're going to declutter yourself. It's springtime. It's time to organize. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for just being you. Wendy Jones, Victory Speaks. Yes, let your victory speak. Yes to transformation, says Serena. So we love you all. We are saying good night and take care and be safe out there. Let your victory speak.